Welcome back to another podcast with Prepper Talk Radio. We've got Scott and Shane and myself, Paris Clough, in the house. We're excited to have an opportunity to speak with you again and have you share some knowledge about being prepared. We want to talk to you about the importance of being prepared and ready-minded with anything that life can throw at you, with God, family, and country as our focus. Today, we have a really exciting podcast. We have a special guest that's on. He's actually another podcaster, and he's got some fantastic knowledge. We're going to have a good time on this in this podcast, talking about some stuff. Before we do that, I want to remind you all to go to our website at preppertalkradio.com and click on our resources tab. There's a lot of things on preppertalkradio.com for you to be able to look at and see and increase your knowledge and look at things that you can increase your skills. But in our resources tab, we have some downloads that you can get for free. We have some things that you can look at there. We have some links to some of the products and services that we promote that we think that are really going to be valuable for you to be a part of. It helps to promote the show if you buy those things through our links. And almost every one of our links, if you use the code PrepperTalk, you're going to get a discount. And one of those places that we're going to talk about real fast is Jase Medical. Jase Medical is one of those companies that has created a way for you to get antibiotics in case of an emergency. And that's not just any emergency. It's not when, SHTF. It's if you have if something happens over the weekend and you can't get in, you need to have antibiotics right away. It's good to have a backup supply of antibiotics. And we did a podcast with Dr. Sean Rowland, who is the president of Jase Medical, podcast 184. Check that out. Use Prepper Talk Radio. Use the code Prepper Talk, and you'll get $10 off your purchase there. So that will be in the description. Links will be in the description below for all those things. But I want to jump in now to talking about Jester. iTsDoomsDay podcast is on Prepper Talk Radio, and we're going to have some fun. Tell us a little. Welcome to the show, Jester. Welcome to Prepper Talk Radio.
Hey man, thanks for having me, guys. I was excited when Scott asked me to be a part of this.
Dude, I was excited to invite you. Today kind of feels like, to me, like if you're a Marvel or a DC kind of fan, I grew up in comics. Like that was my thing as a kid. So this is like one of those DC Marvel crossovers, or even just like a universe. This is the multiverse of prepping madness right now. So this is exciting because we've got the It's Doomsday podcast. And if you're on TikTok following us, I'm Scott.PrepperTalkRadio, and Jester is It's Doomsday Podcast. It's Doomsday Podcast 2.0 and It's Doomsday Podcast 3.0, and now It's Doomsday Podcast 4.0 thanks to Safe Prep. So you got to make sure you're following all of them in case Safe Prep tries to get him banned again, because he's a knucklehead and we love him.
Oh, absolutely. But Scott, I got one question for you. Who gets T-shirt rights to the Prepperverse?
Ooh, I think we need to each create our own alternate. Right?
Yeah.
I think we need. Sure, are we gonna have a T-shirt battle? You create one, I'll create one, and we each create one and see what the fans pick. Should we create a website?
that determines the winner of the multiverse.
The Prepperverse. I like that. Let's coin that. Let's get that out there.
That should, just as long as you guys give me some royalties, I'll be happy. It's fine.
Right. Oh heck yeah, we'll always get you covered.
51% or something small like that.
Oh yeah, small 51. It's no big deal.
So Jester, tell us about yourself. I have to admit, I don't do TikTok. I don't do any of that stuff. So I am ignorant as to your greatness. Tell us a little bit about you and whatever you'd like to disclose. I'd like to know where in the country you are, not specifically. Are you east, west, and those types of things?
So I'll tell you what, let me start with this. I recently just started disclosing the state I'm in because of everything that we got going on. It's pretty hard. The more we're growing, the harder it is to cover up. So I'm okay with telling people where I'm at now. I'm in North Carolina. That's the state I'm in. Like I said, it's just with growing the events we're trying to grow and doing the things we're trying to do, it's getting really hard and difficult to keep it covered up. So I just said, you know what, as long as nobody knows my address or the town I'm in, I should be fine.
Yeah.
Right. As far as what we do on our show, I feel like you guys are way more professional than we are. We pick a topic 5 minutes before our show. We just wing it the whole time. And we've got really lazy. We don't even edit anymore. We just slap an intro on at a commercial or two, and we just send it up to the platform.
We're not much different, Jester.
Well, what's fun is you guys are on Podbean, and with Podbean you can actually get all the callers in. Callers can join in through the live stream through the app, which is awesome. we're actually going to be launching that feature in a couple of weeks through Show Builder, which is what we use or will be using. They've just been building out everything for us, but it's fun because you can get more. It feels like the radio days back, Shane, when we started, we were on the radio. So we get random call-ins. We have no idea who it is, but with the app, you get to see who's asking questions and actually invite them in and let them talk and kick them off when you want them to stop talking. And it's awesome. And I'm like, that's really cool. I'm like, maybe we should have gone with that. I would have been, coulda, right? There's still time. We can do some fun stuff. But I listened to an episode you did just this last week. You talked about kind of the history of 911 and what to do in an emergency. And I was like, man, that's really good really good content. And I was like, he reads that stuff off like a seasoned like novel reader on my, what is it, Kindle e-reader, not Kindle e-reader, what's that, Amazon
Speak and Spill.
Well, speaking no, it's like you've got a really good voice for radio podcasting, and also, you know, being the voice of a book. I can't even think what the book program's called.
Audible.
Audible.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Audible, there you go.
Yeah, you'd be the voiceover for. I'm gonna write a book, and you can voice over it for me.
You know, it's really funny. I absolutely despise reading. I can't stand it. I do not like to read, and I find myself reading more for this show than I ever have in my entire life. I didn't read this much in school.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm the same way with prepping. Like, it's one of those topics that you become a voracious reader because you really want to know what the right way is to do something. And then once you start a podcast or radio show or any kind of community, you're like, I got up my game. And now you're like 5 hours in, you're like, oh crap, what did I just do? I just went down the rabbit hole. I know everything you need to know about butterfly bandages. Like, all of a sudden, you know everything, you know, and
Yeah.
it's the weird, obscure stuff that if you talk to just a regular Tom, Dick, or Harry on the street, they're going to look at you and go, you're insane. But another prepper is going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm glad you know that, because I had no idea.
When you focus on this stuff, as long as we have, we just are basically insane compared to everybody else.
A little bit.
And we're just odd. It
Yeah,
definitely
you have to be a little crazy. You have to be a little crazy to make it.
Yeah.
Like a fox. Well, that goes right into our topic, which is people look at preppers as if they're these crazy people. And what's funny is there's the preppers are conspiracy theorists.
But yeah.
No, we're conspiracy realists.
Yeah, they've been programmed.
Right?
They've been programmed to think that way, right? Through different shows like Doomsday Prepper and you know, a lot of these, and just like you say, the word conspiracy theorist, right? That was drummed up by the FBI, CIA back in the day, right? So,
well, and then what's nice about that though is it takes people that don't want to get into prepping kind of off the radar for us. We don't have to worry about them, even though we're still trying to help them right now before SHTFs. When it happens, when the crap hits the oscillating fan, like, we're not going to be able to help them. It'll be too late for them. They need to take some responsibility now, because when it's time that they can't feed their kids, that's 100% on them. And that's why we've got to build communities now, so we can have, you know, number one, good communication with the right people, so we know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, so that we can stay alive and thrive. Because if you don't have a community, when things go sideways, you are not going to survive alone. Like, it's not going to happen. I mean, I love like the old novels about so-and-so went into the woods and he was there for 2 years and comes walking out, and you're like, wow, that guy's totally awesome. Oh wait, he's fictitious. You know, most of the guys that did that alone didn't come back. They just don't. And so take what we know now, which is far less than what they knew 100 years ago, and throw us into the woods. Are we really going to survive for 2 years?
So Jester, what is your take on, you know, we're going to kind of talking about recovering after the collapse, you know, after the apocalypse. Do you see it as a Mad Max type of world? I mean, how do you see, and like I said, I haven't listened to your podcast, so how do you see this, us going through this collapse that it's right upon us, and what do you think is going to be coming out the other end?
So we've talked about this before. I think that I don't necessarily want to say it's going to be like this Mad Max, Book of Eli, you know, apocalyptic style world. I think we're going to see extreme poverty, extreme famine, lots of disease, things going wrong, while we watch the elites being protected. right? The elites want to get society.
Elysium, right?
They want to get back online, right? The elites want to have their expensive coffee. They want to drive their expensive cars. They want somebody to cut their lawns for them. They don't produce. They pay for other people to produce. So the ones that are in control of this game here that are going to eventually cause this collapse, they're going to want to get things back online. And I think when it does, I think, and I've been referencing this lately, the movie Demolition Man, when you have all these people on the surface living off a social credit score system and everything's controlled and you can't say anything offensive or anything like that. And then you got the group beneath the surface, you know, basically eating rat burgers. That's us. We're going to be at the rat buffet. That's where we're going to be at, because we're not going to tolerate this elite ran society.
Yeah, also makes me think about Running Man as well, right? That movie, where they're taking advantage of criminals in that particular movie. But I mean, there's really not much different than now, other than most people are asleep and don't know that we're actually slaves. Coming out the other end, the other side, sorry to phrase it that way, but coming out the other side, hopefully those people, us, will be the awake ones, right? And I think it's going to be very different. You know, just like you say, you referred to Demolition Man. All those people were aware. All the people underground, they knew what was going on. They knew the truth, right? Everybody above ground, they still just live their happy lives. You know, they're supposedly they own nothing and we're happy, right? That's what it seems like, right? That's the agenda.
They weren't even getting laid and they were happy in that movie.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, it's what's interesting.
I still don't know what's up with the 3 seashells, man. I don't even understand that yet.
They're basically they're reinstalling that update, the new iOS. They're just like, hey, yeah, let's upgrade. Let's auto upgrade. Like keep the blinders on. Have no clue. You know, yeah, it's going to get to the point where people we'll look at them and go, "Are you insane?" And I would rather live in squalor out in the woods, or like our community underground, right? I would rather live that way than, here, put this on and we'll pretend like we're having relations and it didn't exist. And, oh, don't touch people because sanitation. Oh, remember, stay certain distances apart because that's the new the normal. And, oh, you're too close. You just lost some credits.
You can already tell.
Go buy a Mountain Dew anymore.
Yeah.
Crap.
I can already tell that's the agenda. Yeah.
Crap. Oh, man.
But, you know, I have a bit of a different kind of thought about what comes off out the other side. Is, you know, my thinking is that the elites have their plans, right? We know what their plans are, and like you're saying, we're going to be, you know, potentially the slaves. I think it's going to be the other way around. I think it's going to be the complete opposite. I think the tables are going to be turned. I think their plans are going to be completely foiled, and they're going to be the ones who are not prepared, right? They're not going to have, they don't have the skills to survive. They may have the stuff, right? But I think everything's going to backfire on them, and they're going to get a taste of their own medicine.
I think there's 2 phases to that, though. I think first round is it's going to be very much like Demolition Man. I've never thought of it that way. That's like one of the best descriptions. I think our reset that we're about to hit is going to go to the Demolition Man's forte of things. But then the next one after that is going to be the flip, the flip the switch on the entire system. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And, you know, that could be a year away. That could be 10 years, 15, 30 years away. I don't know. But that's more, I align with that because I'm a very biblical person. And that's what the Bible tells me. You know, there's going to be craziness of society's going to switch. And then we're going to have the world elite controlling everything. And they're going to have the one world government, right? And then that'll switch again. So that's where I come from. In my mindset is I see both of those happening. Question is when, and what can we do now to better prepare for then? And I think that's why communities are so vital now. If we don't start talking to people now and helping each other out and identifying who's safe now, you're not going to know. Like, you're not going to know who you can trust post, right? You're not going to know.
And coming out the other end, right?
Right.
Because it may be
said it right the first time.
That may be absolutely correct. It's like coming out the other end. It may be SHTF. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, guys. You guys just, I'm a very visual person, and now I have to tell everybody what I'm seeing in my head.
No,
Have you guys
no,
seen
no.
that hippo video
Yep.
with like the bad
Ace
diarrhea?
Ventura?
Jace
Oh,
Ventura.
no.
Jim
Oh,
Carrey.
no.
No.
No, not
There's
that one. Not that
there's
one.
a hippo video
Yeah,
of
yeah.
a hippo in the zoo, and it has diarrhea farts, and its
Paris, you'll
tail's
have
like
to link
flipping. And it is the perfect SHTF moment because it's just like everywhere. And everyone, the guy that's recording, you can just hear everyone laughing, and like women are going, "Oh, that's disgusting," and children are like, "Ah!" and the guy's just chuckling. That's what every time you say coming out the other end. Now that's what's in my head. So sorry, listeners, not sorry. Enjoy that one on the house.
Yeah.
Scott, I would hate to see your browser history.
It's pretty much the same as that. Like that's.
Well, he spends a lot of
is,
time on TikTok. There you go. Right.
That was like, I'm pulling. That's like an archive. Like I'm thinking, man, that's probably like 15 years ago, maybe less, maybe 10 years ago that I last saw that. But it's like one of those things that lives rent free in your head forever.
That's awesome.
It's stuck. It's there.
So I will make sure to use that phrase more often than Scott.
Thanks.
Coming out the other end.
Thanks, Shane. I mean,
I think regardless of how it comes out, how it turns out, it's going to be pretty crappy. There's another visual for you there, Scott. And Jester, tell us, kind of what you think the process is going to be from where we're at now. Where do you see things going? Timing would be nice to hear what you think in timing wise, and then kind of the process, because we know we're going to a digital currency, right? We're going to CBDCs, which we're saying mark of the beast. Very, like I say, we're very biblical. We follow the scriptures as part of our timeline of these last days. We'd love to hear from you.
So I'd like to start with this. I subscribe to the Agenda 2030 theory, the sustainable energy plan. I really subscribe to that, and that's where I think a lot of this is headed. The government is gaining way too much power over the people. The people are eventually going to fight back, and when they do fight back, they're going to need something to control them, right? Any post-apocalyptic scenario or any time that happens, like Scott said, you're going to have extreme famine, you're going to have extreme disease. These are the things that are going to happen. And I think that a lot of people forget is our government, local, state, county governments, they are the ones that help us out in the disaster scenarios like tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, things like that. And they help get the funding to rebuild infrastructure, right? So I don't think a lot of people think about, if you have a tornado and it wipes out the grid's going to stay down. These things are going to stay down. So I think what we're going to see is, we're going to see civil unrest. The government's going to try to come in to take control of it. The people are going to revolt against the government. Government agencies are going to start shutting down. Police are going to lose power, similar to what we've seen in like the CHOP zone. Okay. And I think it's going to be this kind of like, ELE, everybody love everybody kind of thing for a little while. There's going to be this calm before the storm. And then we're going to start seeing things collapsing. A lot of infrastructure is going to collapse. Food's going to collapse. Everything's just going to be gone. There's not going to be any gas at the gas stations. And I think that that's going to last for at least 5 years, at least.
Wow.
That I think that aligns with me a lot. I don't know the timing of how long that second rug pulled out is going to last, but I feel like it's going to happen in that same cycle. Like we're going to have that reset come. They're using everything right now, I think, really to scare us into the first reset, into that first like big. They're like, nothing else we've done is working. We're just going to push them to the edge and then pull the rug out.
And the people are going to say, please save us, right? Please save us. And then they're going to push the currency on us. Yes, please. Yes, thank you. And then, like you say, Jester, more and more power goes to the government.
And that's when the mark of the beast really comes in, and they say, look, if you want to have any food or any protection, or you want to have antibiotics or medicines, you got to follow these particular set of rules. You got to sign a contract. You got to be, basically we're going to own you even more than we did before. If you want to have any kind of semblance of civilization moving forward, otherwise you're on your own. See ya. And I just think, Jester, you hit it on the head earlier. The elites are so entitled and they're so lazy that you're right. They're at some point they're going to either have their little, I mean, I go back to Hunger Games a little bit, right? It's going to be District 1 or whatever the main district was, where they have that, if they're so sheltered from everything. And then District 13 or whatever. I don't know if anybody knows this, but the UN, some of the listeners might know this. The UN already has the world divided up into 10 different sections. So it's almost like, they're headed that direction anyway. So the reality of them kind of bringing back into that control and trying to get us back under control is in the plans. It's in the plans for them to do those things. It's the old adage, ordo ab chaos, order from chaos, cause the problem, cause the chaos, come with the solution, provide the solution, give the people the solution, and they say, oh, thank you so much for saving us. Well, of course, we're here we love to save you. Well, you're the ones that caused the daggone problem in the first place, And so it's just that cycle where those of us that are smart and aware are going to be able to step outside of that cycle and survive. And those that aren't are going to be like wrapped up in that thing so bad it's going to take them out.
Yeah, and I'm looking for a quote that I've got here, but basically it says that these people, these elite, they feel that they are. Oh, here it is. I found it. Here it is. 1/4 of humanity must be eliminated from the social body. We are in charge of God's selection process for planet Earth. He selects, we destroy. We are the riders of the pale horse. This is one of the world leaders. This is the things they think. This is not something we talk about a lot on this podcast. We try to not get so dark and in the gray areas. But these are the things we do study. We do watch these things. So that's about as dark and as grim as it gets. And I think that's what they have planned for us. Whether or not they're going to succeed, I think they will to an extent. But it's the time is now to set ourselves apart, unplug, so that we won't, like you say, Parrish, won't be subject to the health passports, right? To the food lines, whatever you want to call it. Right? Mm-hmm.
I think Jason Preston said it pretty good on one of our, I think episode 183. He said, it's the people, us. We need to stand up and we need to rise up and we need to become. We need to take back control. Jester, you hit it too. Like the government is way too much control. They got power. They're drunk on power, and it's going to take a small. What's the quote, Shane? What's the quote? The small minority.
A small and tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires in the minds of men.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about. Yeah.
And that's what we do with our podcast. That's what you're doing with your podcast, Jester, is just getting people educated and informed. And yeah, there's that old adage, is it a good idea for me to tell everybody what I'm doing? Well, I think the more public you are, the less likely at some point you cross over and you get safe because you're so public. Like they can't take you out because, everybody will really know how obvious it is. Like, you can't have the plane crash or the car crash. He died, his brakes went out. Right. Yeah. My brakes went out. Right. Come up with something new. Right, guys. So you get to be safe. The more public you are, the more out in the public you are, you can actually become safer at some point. So it's just
sometimes. Always. I mean, you look at China.
Sometimes
they just snag whoever they want to and stick them in their concentration camp. It doesn't matter. If it's Jack Ma, and one of the richest men in China or whomever, right? They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. Well, it's like, okay, right now my pillow guy's doing a lot. Mm-hmm. Right before him, it was the computer security guy who's like, I'm not going to kill myself.
And he killed him. Yeah, supposedly.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I think Parrish, there's some semblance to that of being that's right, but there's always the chance that it's not right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's risk by telling people a lot about my situation, where I live, what I'm doing. I don't go into all the details, but I give them a really good picture. So if they really have bad intentions, I'm an easy mark, right? Or so they think. And if it weren't for the boating accident where I lost all my guns and ammunition, it would be easy for them, right? But here's the thing: is like, I am so kind. Like you guys all know me. I am one of the nicest guys you're going to come across. Except if you cross that line, you are not coming back. And there have been people who have crossed that line. And you guys have heard some of those stories. And I've been to jail before, guys. I'm not afraid of jail anymore. That's what I'll leave there.
Right.
We have a responsibility to be the most scary, violent, destructive men on earth. But we need to be the most cool, calm, and collected. Because like, what's that guy, Jordan Peterson, actually talks about this in a speech. And I'm like, man, that's so perfect. Like, we need to be the most vicious of all creatures on earth. But only when we absolutely have to does that come out.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be capable of all those things. And it's like the whole world's like, men need to stop being mansplaining and be dangerous and all this stuff. No, we need to be more dangerous because there's other men and other women as well who have bad plans.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be so unassumingly the opposite so that they're like, oh, wait, that's a bad idea. Let's leave. Right. And so that we can protect our families, because that's the end of the day. It's like we have to have that community. You know, Stan Pruitt over at Urban Survivors is always like, you need to be the most unassuming guy who's going to break somebody else's neck. You know, you need to be able to defend against whatever comes your way and then just scoot on out of there like nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone still look at you like, that guy's just an amazing guy. But it's like, in your community, how are you going to know if someone's really got your six if they're not willing to go to blows, right, to protect you and your family? And the same for you and your community. Like, that's where you've got to build that network. And it's like, I know, like, Stan Pruitt, it's got my back. I know Shane's got my back. I know Parrish has got my back. I know if somehow I'm over by Jester, I know he'll have my back, because you know what? I'm going to have the heck out of his back. I'm going to take care of the people like that I'm communicating with now, wherever they are all over the world. Like, if I can have their back in any way, I've got it. Mm-hmm. Right. That's what we do. It's the weirdest thing about being a prepper. Like, people think we're these solitary beings and we don't communicate, and we're not. Oh my gosh. Once you get into the community and you start making friends within the community, you become the most fierce, loyal friends with the other preppers over anybody else. Like, I don't want to hang out with guys that want to go bowling. I don't want to go hang out with guys that want to go golfing all the time. Like, I don't care. I want to hang out with the guys that want to talk about prepping.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, I got some wheat in this week. It was so cool. Oh, what'd you get? Red wheat? Is it the hard wheat? Is it like seriously? That is what we talk about. Oh, did you see the new pew pew that came out over at so-and-so's? Yeah, I already got mine ordered.
No, dude, I got the new Nikes, you know, the new Air Jordans or whatever. Right. That's what I want to talk about.
I
was going to ask you, Jester, do you want to share with us the things you're doing now? What kind of things are you doing? Are you, I mean, as to your
build
preps,
a community?
Well, to build a community, is your preps, you know, garden, those types of stuff. I know you're on some acreage. You have chickens. I mean, what kind of things are you doing?
Gotcha.
I just share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to what Parrish said a little while ago about when you get so big, you start becoming safe, right? I think the fact that Alex Jones is still on this side of the ground, kind of, there's some, you know, kind of proves that a little bit, right? But yeah. As far as preps go, we've got chickens, we've got goats, we've got a bunch of other critters running around here. We're working on upgrading and getting some cows and some other things at some point when I'm ready for them. We have a small greenhouse that I do a lot of my starts in. We have a garden. One thing I've been trying to preach to people lately, and Scott actually helped me find something real cool with this. He helped me find Egyptian walking onions. I didn't even know about these till he told me about them. But so I'm trying to preach this, guys. Do hidden gardens. Do your root vegetable gardens out in the woods where nobody's going to see them, little low light areas. If somebody comes through and they raid your place, or you got somebody living in the woods, sneaking in at night and taking stuff, if you're doing these hidden gardens in the woods, they're not going to notice these things. Like, if somebody has a trained eye to look for it, they're going to find it, but the average person isn't going to. But that's something big I'm working on right now, is growing a lot of stuff to put in hidden gardens around the property. Other than that, I am going to be working on some solar here soon, and we are working on a rainwater collection system. That's something that's coming soon. But right now, we're kind of in a position where water's not an issue and power's not an issue. Worst case scenario, we just don't have a refrigerator. We could still cook and do all the things we need to do. We have gas lanterns for lights in the house. We have a hydraulic ram pump that pumps our water up from our spring, so it runs 24 hours a day. There's no electric, no gasoline. It works on the water hammer effect, so that it just keeps running. Right.
That's so awesome.
So we're in a good spot if things were to break bad right now, but I want to be in a better spot, mainly for comfort level for my kids. And that's the big thing that's always continuous, is prepping for your kids.
Yep.
Yeah, make
Absolutely.
sure they're comfortable.
Do you have a bug out place too, Jester? Do you have some place that's a little further away that you got your prepping as well, or?
So where I live now used to be my bug out location, and I ended up putting a small cabin here. Now I'm here.
Nice.
You know, totally like Randy Weavered it out to the middle of nowhere.
That's what Shane's working on right now. Like that's my next I guess evolution in my prepping is also to, we've got a couple of different places. I've got 3 places I'll go. One of those, the worst place, is the place we want to go, but we've got to set everything up still.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first place I'd want to go, but right now it's the like absolute last place I will go. But yeah, it's like getting to that point where you're living in your bug out. Mm-hmm. You can bug in your bug out place forever. Like that's ideal.
Awesome.
Strategic relocation, like we talked about before. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Jester, is this something you've been doing your whole life, or was there a point in your past that you can kind of just say, you know what, something clicked, maybe the switch flipped, and you're like, you know what, you woke up somehow, or is there something like that in your past, or is just you were born and raised this way? What can you share with us about that?
Well, you're not from North Carolina. I can tell that, right?
No, So we grew up kind of off grid. We grew up on a little horse ranch, and we had a rainwater collection system, a crappy well that only put out like 5 gallons of water every few hours. So we always had limited water supply growing up. We went through bad storms without generators. We had wood fired heat in the house. So a lot of our life was like this kind of homesteading life, you know, heat the house with wood, cook over the fire in the house, rainwater collection, things like that. And then obviously the care for the animals on the property, you know, that was a big part of it too. Always had gardens, did stuff like that. Did the Boy Scouts growing up. So that was a big part of this. Became infatuated with survival in these Breaking Bad situations when I was a kid after reading the book Hatchet. That was one that really put me into that mindset of, you know, that somebody could survive. That was a big one. And then 2012, someone came to me and sat me down and really started like waking me up to what was going on. Right. Mm-hmm. So I was always into the camping side, the survival side, the off-grid stuff, always into that. But I didn't realize how much more there was to this. And I started getting into prepping in 2012. And then the thing that really clicked the switch for me was I started working for a local law enforcement agency where I lived, and I worked in the property and evidence department. And when I started seeing the crimes that took place in our county that's not out there in the mainstream media, once I saw how wicked human beings can be to one another, that was a big turning point for me to be like, wow, I really got to step my game up, because if something bad happens, if it's this lawless society, I mean, people aren't being kept in line very well now. But imagine if there was no law enforcement whatsoever, and then used to live in Florida, went through some hurricanes and stuff, saw how people panic buy, how quickly the grocery stores empty, how quick we run out of gas, all these things. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be in that position for my children. I want to be comfortable. I want my kids to be comfortable. So I guess it was a combination of all those things, but really kicked off, like, you know, all my senses got heightened whenever I started working within law enforcement.
I think another thing along those same lines, Jester, is that, you know, people are evil who are evil. But when you got a regular guy, a husband, you know, regular dad or regular mom, and they start getting to the point where their kids can't eat because they don't have food, they're going to start turning and doing some stuff that they wouldn't do in any other circumstance. They're going to get to that panic point, that point of no return on their, just to save their kid or to save themselves. And I mean, some point you got to protect yourself from the guy you saw at church maybe last year, but now he's so starving and he's hungry. He's like, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get my kids some food. And if that means I got to take you out, I'm taking you out. And that's another thing that people don't realize, is that when you get a lot of people that are starving or hungry, or they don't have their medicines or whatever, it's going to be, I mean, people say that zombies aren't real. I'm like, oh yeah, well, you know, they're certainly going to act like them.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I mean, I know, and I think this goes for all of us, like, you know, I will go to some pretty nasty ends to protect my kids. Mm-hmm. So will everybody else. Mm-hmm. In the apocalypse, you might do some pretty nasty things to get your kids a can of SpaghettiOs so they don't go hungry. and everybody's going to have that mentality.
Yeah, unfortunately.
There's an old book that I think has been around since the 80s. It's called There's No Such Thing as Doomsday. And what it really gets to is that if you're prepared, what's there to worry about, right? Essentially. So I know your podcast, what's it called again? It's called itsDoomsDay Podcast.
Yeah, It's Doomsday Podcast.
And they can find you on Podbean. Is that where it is?
Oh, we're everywhere. So
Everywhere?
we do 2 shows a week. We do 1 live show a week on Monday nights on Podbean. That's where people can call and they could listen to the show live. And then we do a pre-recorded, uploaded show every Sunday, and that goes up to iTunes and Spotify and Apple, and just it goes everywhere.
Yeah,
nice.
That's
I'll have
really cool.
to check it out.
guys, definitely go check it out. And then if you guys listening are on TikTok at all, dude, go follow Jester. It's Doomsday Podcast 3.0 and 4.0 are the primaries, but he does lives all the time and does a ton of really good Q&As, answers a lot of questions. And one of the things that I love about the community on TikTok, everyone's like, TikTok, you're doing dances? No, we're not doing dances.
Scott does occasionally.
Justin does. I don't.
Prepper dances.
Safe Prep does. He does a lot of fun stuff. But you hop on any one of Jester's lives, you're going to be like 10 other like master creators of prepping content that are always helping each other out. It's probably more than that. It's probably like 30 of us that we kind of are like this group that we've all found each other on there, and we all have our different audiences, and we keep exposing each other's audiences to the other audiences. And they're like, oh, wow, there's good information over here. And so like we keep growing all together, and it's fantastic because it's like, oh, so-and-so's an expert in foraging. Oh, so-and-so's an expert in, food preservation, and everybody kind of has their specialties. Right. And so you're building an adaptable community around where you want to be. And then that should help you build your local community. Right. I've met, it's funny because I met through TikTok, probably 30, 40 people that live near my old hometown in Colorado. They're like, oh my gosh, I know exactly where you went to school. And we talk and they're like, okay, how do I meet other people? I'm like, there's 40 of you that I've met in like a week or two that I've now connected, that they've got their own community because they all live in the neighboring 2 towns where I grew up. And they're like, we didn't know anyone else was here. It's like, there are so many more people around you than you realize. So yeah, maybe TikTok is a place to try out, to find some people, also go to the gun ranges. You're not going to go in there and be like, hey guys, I'm a prepper. Are you a prepper? Like, no. You don't start talking about guns and you get used to each other and you're like, hey, how often do you train? Oh, cool. I come on Tuesdays, or, this is my bowling night. Go to local events for prepping, which you guys are launching one in October called Prep Fest.
Prep
right?
Stock.
Prep Stock. That's right.
Prep Stock. Yeah.
Prep Stock. I'm going to see if I can get it out there because I think that'll be so much fun. Find the community events, find people that are doing the same things, go to canning classes, go to cooking classes. You'll meet people that have the same interests as you at the things that are all around preparedness. If you want to get better at sewing and maybe meet some other preppers, find a sewing club. Do you know how many, oh my gosh, I've met so many people that are in sewing clubs that are total preppers. And they're like, oh yeah, I do this so that I can, know how to fix everything for when SHTFs. And I'm like, excuse me, 70-year-old grandma, what did you just say? I'm like, are you a prepper? And she's like, I guess I kind of am. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, this is awesome. This is amazing. You meet people and you build community by going out and doing stuff that are aligned with what we do as preppers. I'm serious. Like the person we're getting our quail from in a few months, they're total preppers. And I'm like, perfect. I found another person. Let's build that community. Let's because after the crap hit the fan, like we've all got to come together even more. And if you don't have the trust now, it's going to be a lot harder to build it then.
Exactly. Jester, I know you probably have a really strong community. You've been doing this for a long time. There's a lot of people in your friends group that are probably right in the same mentality of you that you're in. But what do you say to that guy who's just getting started? Maybe he's never really prepped a ton, but he's recognizing, wait a minute, there's some stuff that's going on. And I never even heard of this community. I'm just getting started in it. What kind of advice or what kind of information would you give to that guy who's just getting started and maybe just maybe you just met somebody and they're like, you told them like what you do. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? Like, and how do you help them wake up, and how do you help them kind of get prepared, get started and get going? What are some things that you would do to help that guy?
So I don't really go advertise what I do, but it's funny. It's like the preppers that are out there, like locally to me, they seem to find me, right?
Mm-hmm.
They always like utter under their breath, like, "Hey, dude, I'm going to get a new camper this week," and kind of like a bug out vehicle. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I know who you are now." Got another guy that came up to me and said, "Dude, I just picked up a Barrett 50, and I got it, and it's awesome. If things ever break bad, I want to let you know I got a ton of canned food at my house. Dude, you and your family could come over." And I'm like, "Okay, I see you."
Mm-hmm.
But when people are new, getting started out, unless they're coming to me with a direct question, I usually just kind of kick back and listen to see what they need help with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if somebody tells me like, "Hey, I'm really trying to work on this rainwater collection system," something like that, I'll point them in a good direction, maybe for parts or advice, stuff like that. If somebody comes completely new, wanting to get into this and they never start, I always tell them, just kind of the essentials, start with your water, get a plan together, worried about your food, worry about your shelter, things like that. Get a good plan in order. Don't forget the first aid. Don't forget the security. Don't forget comms. Those are important too. And I kind of just try to give them a small place to build. The thing, I want as many people to survive as possible. And I found that a lot of people shut down if the assignment becomes too great. So I try to put this in baby mode for people. Like, start here for $20 and then work your way up. Hit up the dollar store, get some canned goods, and frankly, because a lot of people don't have money to go out and do the big preps or buy the big things or buy $250 buckets of freeze-dried food. Like, a lot of people just can't. So they start off small. And I always try to tell people too, like, look, further your knowledge. The more you can learn, the better. And apply those teachings, apply that knowledge. You don't want to be an uncultivated prepper. You want to be practicing what you know. You want to be trying this stuff out, because when shit really breaks bad, you're not going to have time to practice anymore. Like, this is, practice is over. It's game time now. We need game time results,
Yeah,
That's
one
awesome.
thing we talk about, or I've mentioned a bunch of times, the red pill, blue pill. That's pretty popular topic nowadays. People are recognizing what those really mean, and you can offer them the pills, you can't make them take it, right? It's like leading a horse to water, right? And so it's always fun to drop that little clue or that hint, like you're saying, oh, you said the word bug out, or you said this word, which it gives me a little clue, like, oh, okay, let me drop another little hint, right? And then and I've always found that I want to try and push my way of doing things on other people, like, you need to do this. It doesn't work, right? They have to choose their own path. You have to inspire them, like you say, drop little clues, little nuggets that catch their attention, like, oh, hey, let's talk more about that. Their eyes open, either their eyes open or they glaze over it. And once they glaze over, you're done, right? You step back, say, okay, nice to meet you. It's always a fun conversation.
Yeah, that's Jester, you hit on. I'm just so excited because some of the stuff we've been talking about, we put out there, we tell everybody to do. You literally just reiterated the stuff that we've been telling people. And so that's just it just shows the mindset in the prepper community. We want to help people. I love what you said. I want to help as many people survive this as possible. And the only way they're going to do that is with the exact things that you shared. And I heard over and over again in your comment, set a plan, get a plan, and start small. Start with something. And if somebody comes to me and says, Paris, I want to be prepared, what do I do? Well, that's way too generic. I can't help you with that question. Let's get down to some specifics and start doing some stuff. And then you'll say, well, okay, now what about food storage? What about water storage? What about, now we can start helping because you got specific questions. We can get specific situations. And I just love that you said that, because that's exactly what we're trying to do and trying to help people with as well. Any last comments or last words of wisdom, Jester, you want to share or put out?
Yeah. So Scott brought up, like when you have your prepper friends, you don't want to talk about, the shoes and the bowling and stuff like that. You want to talk about the prepper stuff, right? That's how our show got started. And you brought up helping people. So that's the last thing I'm going to throw in, then I'm going to be done. We were sitting around talking about prepper stuff so much every night, sitting around a table, talking about different things we could do. And I said, I said to a couple of my friends, I was like, that we could just start a podcast and we can do this and we could be helping a lot of other people along the way. And it's inadvertently helping ourselves because the more people that are prepared are going to be the less likely people to come and take our stuff from us. Right. So it's going to be less confrontational. That was over 2 years ago. Now here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So the prepper community is a great one, guys. If you know
fun.
these guys, meet them, get in with them. Absolutely.
And there's someone that you're going to resonate with. Like the prepper spectrum is like so huge from like the Doomsday Prepper. You're going to find the Doomsday Prepper TV show guys. Like you'll find the ones that look and act crazy, but most of the time you're going to find some of the coolest people you're going to know in life. People from all walks, people from all backgrounds, people from all types of careers. And you're going to all have different skill sets that are going to benefit each other the better you get to know each other now. And you're going to be able to help each other now. Like one example, and we'll cut the show, but like, Jester and I got on a live, man, it was like 30 days ago. And we were talking about water distillation. And I'm like, yeah, those systems are expensive. And he goes, oh, you don't even need to do that. He's like, go down to the local Goodwill and get a teapot and get a brake line hose and connect that to the end of the teapot and then put that into a mason jar. And I'm like, you just built a freaking distiller for like 3 cents. Like you can go down and you can go down to the Goodwill and be like, hey, I'll give you $1 for that. I know it's listed for 10, but I'll give you $1. Like you can build stuff super cheap by getting creative. And it's having that kind of creative mindset that's going to get you through the challenges. And the more people you can get to know that are of the same mindset, the more resilient you're going to be. I mean, we use the term anti-fragile or anti-fragility. Like it's resilience. It's being able to rise through the challenges. And that's what we're building, is the biggest, best community of people that are going to build and grow and help and shine in the darkest times. So guys, pay attention to who's around you, get to know the people that are like-minded. You're going to find your best friends are there, and you're going to be able to help more people prepare. Don't be afraid to teach somebody. But like our last episode, don't tell them everything you have. Like,
yeah,
be wise. What more can I say?
Be wise as serpents, yet harmless as doves, as the scriptures say. Mm-hmm. Just to close it out, I live in suburban area. I live next door. I'm in one of the houses. People would probably not know that I was a prepper. They wouldn't know that I have water storage tanks in my garage, kind of backed in there. I have food storage everywhere. I have all those things. Normal people would see that this is a regular guy, everyday guy. And that's what talks to what Scott was talking about, is that you're going to have the gamut of people that could be involved in this thing. I don't have acreage yet, but I want it. But you just don't know who's around you until you start to talk about it. You start to get out there and communicate with others and start to build that community. And you'd be surprised. You might say, wait a minute, I got a really good guy here that's got my back in an emergency and can help me out and get me through some stuff. So I think that I think this podcast was awesome. I hope we get to do it again. Jester, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate your wisdom and your talents. Just to reiterate, I think Shane asked you earlier in the podcast, but just want to make sure that we end with it as well. How do we get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach out to you or be a part of your community, what you're building?
Email's great. It's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. That's great. And if you guys, we do lives every Monday night. If you guys want to get the Podbean app and jump in and be a guest on the show, you guys are more than welcome to do so.
Very cool.
What time is that?
Absolutely.
10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays.
Nice. So you've got a lot of opportunities to join in some other communities. If you haven't joined our community at Prepper Talk Radio, we're on Facebook. We have a group there with a great set of conversations that are going constantly, people asking questions. We got people in that group that do podcasts. We got some other TikTokers that are in there as well, experts in their field. And we have some people that are brand new, just getting started, have no idea what they're doing. They just know they need to do something because they see what's going on in our country. They see what's going on in the world. And I've had so many people join our group recently. One of the questions we ask is, what prompted you to join our group? And several of them are saying, I see what's going on in the world and I want to keep my kids safe from it. And that's a huge motivating factor. And I think that it's important for everybody, for all of us to get together. So jump onto Facebook, join our community there. in our group. Go to preppertalkradio.com, join our email list. Make sure that you're on our email list. Make sure you visit our website on the regular basis. We're going to be upgrading it. We're going to have some really cool features coming up pretty soon. There's some downloads that you can get for free that you can use, some stuff that Scott's been working on. And I know he's trying to finish up some stuff that's going to be absolutely valuable. You're not going to want to miss it.
It's going to be groundbreaking.
And it's going to be awesome.
It'll be helpful. It's not going to be groundbreaking, but it'll be helpful.
So also, I know we mentioned Jase Medical at the beginning, but I just want to reiterate the fact that we've got Fortress Clothing. And I know that Fortress Clothing is a winter clothing company, and it's summertime and nobody's thinking about being warm during the summertime because we're already hot. But I promise you that if you prepare now by getting in on these discounts, by getting in on the deals, you're going to have the stuff you need now during the off season, so that when it's cold already, you're going to already have what you need to have. So go to the description below, click on the link for Jase Medical, get your antibiotics, use the code PrepperTalk and get $10 off. Go to the other link there for Fortress Clothing, click on that link and get 20% off Fortress Clothing. I'm telling you guys, this is one of those discounts that just doesn't happen very often with Fortress, but we got a code of PrepperTalk is the code to get 20% off there. Thank you guys for being on the show with us for the last hour and the last 45 minutes or so. We appreciate you listening and taking the time. Make sure that you take time to get ready, stay ready, and be ready. Until the next time, we'll see you and have a great week.